If we haven't met before, my name is Faye, and I am from Winged Canvas. We are an online art school and YouTube channel. And we are very privileged here to be teaching you at this workshop. Thank you to XP Pen for bringing us onto your server and allowing us to uh, share our expertise with your community. We love art nerds at Wing Canvas. So if you are an art nerd too, you can definitely find us. We're on Discord, YouTube, and Facebook, as well as Patreon. And yeah, today's topic is drawing expressions. I haven't done expressions in a long time, so I was warming up a little bit before the workshop today. Um, and expressions are always so much fun to draw. So it's always a really, really fun exercise. And I really hope that you will have fun today. Let me just give you a little preview of what's going to happen. So we're going to start off by really studying faces and how faces change when expressions change. So I found a lovely lady here on the left with a variety of expressions. And then I've sourced some celebrities and tried to kind of like make a story. So here's Tyra. Tyra's angry. She's angry. She saw herself misrepresented in a tabloid. She's just mad. Um, and then Leo's like, girl, I told you so. I told you that was gonna happen. I'm not your publicist, but it's common sense, girl. Whoops. I have to move Ariana. I moved her by mistake. And then Ariana's like, "Oh, that's so cringe. I'm so happy that that didn't happen to me." And Obama's like, "My fellow Americans, I am amused. Thank you so much for all the free entertainment." So yeah, so I tried to choose some expressions that weren't like, happy, sad, angry. I mean, Tyra's angry, but this is like epic anger. So I'm pretty excited to draw these. And my goal today is to actually draw these people, these celebrities, and actually have it look like them somewhat. But feel free to, stylize it or to draw your own characters or your OCs, just using these as references. Okay, because most faces are the same, male or female, they're kind of the same with different expressions. So hope you guys are excited. Um, I am actually using a program called Krita. It is a free program, and I've just started using it. I was a Photoshop user for many years, probably a decade and a half, and then I used Medibang for a bit, and then I'm using Krita. Our team uses Clip Studio Paint as well, and Rebel 7 is a really nice program that we're trying out. Yeah, and I'm using an XP Pen Artist 15.6 Pro, and I love it. It doubles as an extra screen. So you guys are probably all here because you also use XP Pen. But yeah, I really like my tablet because it's really good for productivity, work-wise as well as art. So, all right. So, let's talk a little bit about expressions. So, what makes expressions unique? What happens to the face when we distort our face? Like what happens? And let's take a look. So I'm just gonna reduce the opacity of this background here so that I can do a little bit of drawing on top. A good way to study expressions is to actually draw on top of them, right? If you draw on top of them, you can really start to, you know, stylize it a little bit. You can start to study the spaces in between key features. So, for example, eyebrows, right? Eyebrows are one of those things that is very, very important for expressions. So, let me emphasize that here. So, eyebrows. Eyebrows are probably number one. You may not think that eyebrows are that important when you're drawing a face, but to like for an expression, like eyebrows are so important. It's not only the like what the eyebrow is doing, right? Like let's look at the eyebrows here. So it's not really like what the eyebrows are doing, but also the space between the eyebrows and the eyes, right? So with somebody, I would say like the first expression, she's kind of playful. She's kind of being playful. Um, and you can see like her eyebrows are, one of them is lifted. They're very far from her eye. Like the distance is really, really far. Um, and when somebody's angry or kind of disappointed, their eyebrows are very close to their eyes, like very, very close, almost touching. So, like you'll see this in a lot of like anime as well. Like the eyes tend to almost touch the eyebrows. Um, and so, like you can see, like in the angry face here, right? It's really just like the tilt of the eyes and the eyebrows. Here, I'm really just kind of simplifying the eyes. I'm not even drawing the pupils. I'm just kind of drawing in, like, you know, on average, sort of what the eyes look like, the shape of them. Um, in a happy face or somebody who's smiling, right, the head is tilting up. Head angles tell you a lot about somebody's emotional state as well. So, here her head is tilting down. So even though, this expression is very neutral, it's kind of sad. It's kind of like sad slash thoughtful or melancholy, maybe. That's a long word. Melancholy. Did I spell that right? Yeah. And then here, this one's kind of like angry. I wouldn't call this angry. I would just call this like, upset, maybe. She's not Tyra angry. She's just like a little bit miffed, that the laundry wasn't put in and now she doesn't have any clean clothes. Um, this one is, I would say it's like maybe surprise. It's not really shock. Like, I'll show you why. So right now, her eyebrows are kind of neutral, right? Whereas if she was in shock, right, her eyebrows would kind of come up a little bit more. They would kind of tilt up, right? Because shock is kind of like a mix. It's unexpected and it's kind of negative. It's got a little bit of negativity, right? So that's why eyebrows do so much. If you just kind of lift the corners just a little bit, it completely changes the expression, right? It's like I can draw the face the exact same way, but if I lift the corners of the eyebrows, it's completely different. Okay, so there's different types of emotions. There's like positive emotions and negative emotions in an expression, and a lot of them are pretty, like some of them are very, very subtle, right? Uh, so in a face looking down, right? This expression is probably very neutral. It relies really on the tilt of her face, and her mouth is pretty straight, right? It's pretty straight. However, if you curve the corners like down just a little bit, it makes her a little bit more melancholy, right? And if you curve her lips up a little bit, then maybe it's a little pouty and maybe it's a little bit more thoughtful. Okay, so eyebrows are your number one most important tool or most important feature for expressions, I would say probably number two would be like the mouth. I do think eyes, eyes are also really important. Um, but compared with eyebrows, like eyes are something that we always draw first, right? And it's kind of like a no-brainer. We put a lot more emphasis on eyes than all the other features on the face. So I'm going to give it a number three position here. All right, so let's talk about the eyebrows for these expressions down here. So, this one is kind of like, I don't know if I believe you. It's a little bit posy, obviously she's in a photo shoot and she's not really reacting to stuff. Like it doesn't feel as authentic, right? This is just acting. And you can kind of tell, right? Like I can tell that she's not really that authentic in this expression, but I think she's what she's meaning to express is kind of like, I'm thinking, but I'm not convinced. I don't know if not convinced is a expression, but I think it's like the closest that I can think of. Um, so again, like asymmetrical eyebrows will give you a unique expression. Like, usually it's like the questioning or like the not quite convinced, or the borderline upset, or playful. So like silly expressions have asymmetrical eyebrows, um, and most of the other expressions have symmetrical eyebrows, right? It's really just the kind of sarcastic expressions that don't. So in this one, right, this one she's kind of blowing like a kissy face. I don't know if this is like actually an expression, but she's like, again, she's being playful. Um, but the difference between this playful and this playful, right, is in the mouth and the eyebrows. So the playful, this is like teasing playful, right? Whereas this one here is like cute, playful, or sweet. I'm going to say sweet because the other one's kind of cute too. So this one's more sweet. Yeah. This is disgust. Disgust will sometimes also have asymmetrical eyebrows because it's also like um this kind of not sure expression, right? Uh, Melancholy. Personally, for me, I really like the expressions that are very subtle, not the usual ones. This one I'm gonna say delight. And if her face was facing you, like the distance between her eyebrows and her eyes would be a lot closer, right? But because her head is tilting upwards, right? Um, the distance between the eyebrows and the eyes are diminished because her head is tilting back into space. This last one, again, like I know she's supposed to be angry or frustrated, like she's shouting. Um, she is definitely angry, but for some reason she's not, she doesn't feel super authentic. Again, I think because she's posing. You know? Um, okay. So let me know if you guys have any questions so far. Okay, just want to answer some questions first. How would you go about drawing the head from a higher or lower perspective? That part of connecting to the neck and the head, I find it finicky. Yeah, that's definitely tough. I can go over that when I actually draw the heads. And when drawing expressions with adding too much details to the face, throw it off. Like, is simplicity good? Yes, simplicity is always good. Simplicity is always better. Um, I definitely will always say simple is best. The less you can draw, the less detail you put in, the stronger it actually is. You can always put in more detail, uh, but it's really hard to draw just enough detail, you know? Okay. So the last one here, I was just going to comment on this because I don't actually think it's very convincing. Um, you can kind of tell when an expression is not authentic. It, like we just have like we have a feeling where it's like, okay, she's shouting, but she's acting, you know? I don't know if you guys can see this as well. Um, but uh, it just, she's there's something about expressions that are genuine. You can tell right away, you know? Have you ever seen somebody like put on a fake smile, right? They put on a fake smile and then you know like right away that it's fake. Um, that's kind of uh, something that, you know, I can I can pinpoint. I can find like, okay, that's really really obvious that it's not authentic. Okay, so then the next thing I want to talk about, and I will go to answering some more of your questions. Um, does expression study always also cover wrinkles? Yes, but just remember that wrinkles can make a person look older. So yes, there are wrinkles. So like if I turned up the opacity on her, you can see that her forehead has wrinkles, right? In some of these expressions, like in this one, her forehead has wrinkles. But if I add in those wrinkles, like if I go in and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna add in these wrinkles, then suddenly she looks really old, right? Like she just looks that's not kind. So yes, there are wrinkles, but you can pick and choose how you want to express those wrinkles. Is it absolutely necessary? The best thing to do is actually to study cartoons, right? Because cartoons are really the ultimate simplification of things. And so, would you draw wrinkle lines? Yeah, I would probably put in some wrinkle lines like in key areas, probably in disgust. I would have it come down from the nose. Um, in the laughing one, there are natural lines, but I probably wouldn't like go really heavy on these lines, right? Because the heavier you go, the older the person tends to get. So with all of these expressions, I would probably only put wrinkle lines on very selective ones. So this one is like, I'm just gonna say like frustrated. So yeah, to answer your question, yes, wrinkle lines they do play a role, but you have to be careful with them. Like with this one, would I put in wrinkle lines here? Probably not. Do I think they are essential to the expression? Probably not. I would probably like, put these in more than I would put in the forehead wrinkles. right? For if you're drawing like eyebrows that are very asymmetrical, you could put like one wrinkle if you want, but even that looks kind of strange. So I'd probably just leave it out. Question: what are some tips to showing expressions when the face is to the side or the side profile? Um, it's exactly the same. Like, it's harder to see an expression from the side, which is why most expression sheets are from the front. The only thing that would change from the side is the length of the jaw. So, for example, with frustrated, right, with this pose over here, um, she's kind of like you have your ball and shield, right? There's your ball, and usually the bottom of the chin is like two times the size of the ball. Sorry, two times half the size of the ball. Two times half of the ball. Sorry, that didn't make sense either. It's late. I've been teaching since really early. Sorry, let me rephrase that. If you draw a ball, you divide it in half, then you take half of this measurement and then you extend it to the bottom. It's kind of like you're dividing it into three. And then you would draw in the chin, right? So this is a face that's sort of neutral and the jaw is not open. It could be any of the expressions where the mouth is not open, right? But when the mouth is open, the jaw extends, right? So the jaw is kind of like in this one, it's extended because the mouth that would normally in a neutral face, it would normally kind of sit here. In a face where the mouth is open, right, the mouth would be a lot bigger. So the mouth would actually be like open like this, right? So then the jaw is going to extend by a lot. So your face will elongate. So if you're drawing that from the side, a normal head might look like this, right? Whereas a shouting head would be a lot longer. So everything still mapped out wise, it's still the same except for the mouth. So the nose would be there. Same thing on this face, like the nose would be here, right? And then on a relaxed face, the mouth might be here, right? But on a angry face, or sorry, on a face where the mouth is open, right? The mouth would be like open like this, right? So the only thing that would change is that the face gets really long. So from the side, you know, there are things you can do with it, but if you're gonna show, like if you're drawing a comic and you want to show a close up of an expression, you're probably not gonna do a side profile. Like maybe you have somebody looking at someone in shock, right? Um, but most of the time, if you're showing an expression, you probably want it to be front on, right? You always want to use the view that is the most that tells the story the best. How do we know when to stop adding aging lines before it ruins the expression we are going for? Add them, and then when you're like, "Ooh, they look old," remove them. Or you could lighten them, or you could use the line. You could use less thick lines, right? There are lots of things you can do. Um, and Amumu, yeah, the last one is that definitely like this emoji face. Um, yeah, except her eyebrows are not that exaggerated. See, if her expression was more authentic, I would probably turn her eyebrows up a little bit more, right? If you turn her eyebrows up a little bit more, she feels like she's like in pain, right? This is like painful frustration. But because her eyebrows aren't really doing that, it doesn't look as authentic. Um, so those are those like very subtle details. If you were like making this into a cartoon, you can also add expression in her hair, right? So if she's upset, right? Maybe her like what does upset hair look like? Um, in a cartoon, how like when somebody's upset, their entire like the entire scene goes it goes from like warm to cool, right? And then their hair goes from like bouncy to kind of droopy, and like the villains, they always have like oily hair, like hair can also really help with expressions, believe it or not. um Especially for cartoons. Okay. So emphasis on the eyebrows. The second is the mouth. So I haven't really talked about the mouth yet. Um, so let's just like focus on some very simple shapes. Okay, very simple shapes. And this is kind of fun to do if you want to try this. By the way, I will let me see if I can put this image in the chat so that you guys can open it up and trace with it. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so eyes, obviously when eyes are uh, expressive, you can think of them as, being really open like this, right? To being like, you know, very squinty or like um, closed and small, right? Angular. Um, so it's kind of like a variety, right? And if a face is kind of tilting up, you might get a curve versus a straight line. And sometimes, you get eyes that you don't even see the pupils at all. Like in the delight one, like if I turn this off, her eyes are closed, right? Um, which is kind of why I just drew lines. So there are some wrinkle lines in eyes. Like let's say I'm drawing an eye that's like really uh grinning really, really hard, right? I could put in some wrinkle lines, right? They can kind of look like eyelashes, so you got to be careful where you put those wrinkle lines, and you also want to make sure that you don't overdo it. Like you don't really need it, to be honest. Like those really, really subtle details don't do as much as like the simple expressive eyebrows. So in frustrated faces and things like that, you might get some wrinkles in the nose, right? So you might get like kind of some of this stuff going on. um, but usually speaking, you can leave those details out. How would you keep a person looking younger with the wrinkles? Um, that's a good question. So I believe we talked about this in a previous tutorial, but when you're drawing somebody young versus somebody old, it's really in the proportions. So if you're drawing somebody young, uh, right, their face is going to be a lot shorter. So instead of the jaw being half of the circle, the jaw would be like, you know, maybe a quarter of the circle, right? So this looks like a child's face versus like an adult face. If you're drawing somebody who's older, like seniors and people who are generally older in age, their faces tend to look a little bit longer. Their ears are a little bit bigger, you know. Like right now, I kind of drew two heads. There's no features on them, but you can already tell that this one's older, right? And this one's younger, just based on proportions alone, like simple facial proportions. The other thing that you may find interesting is that when you're drawing older people, right? Older people tend to have like, um, whoops, older people tend to have thicker eyebrows. So, for example, if you're drawing somebody who is a lot older, I want to keep this line so that you guys can see it. So if you're drawing somebody older, the line of their eyes would be higher on their face, whereas if you're drawing somebody younger, the line of their eyes would sit lower on their face, right? So if you have like an older character, they might have thicker eyebrows, right? Let's give them an expression here. They may also have like smaller eyes, like their eyes, the eyelids, right, would be thicker usually on older people. Like they have like thicker eye creases, right, than younger people. And then young eyes are shorter, right? They tend to be like just brighter, shorter. And even if it's like the same expression, right? If it's the same expression, it might be like that versus the thick line. So I'm going to try to draw these. Like this is kind of like a worried look, right? Here he's worried. And I don't even need to draw wrinkles to really show that he's older, right? If I wanted to, add some wrinkles, I can probably add in, some bags under his eyes and like, you know. Whereas if I'm drawing like somebody younger and I'm drawing like the exact same expression, younger people don't really have thick eyebrows, right? So I might be like, this little kid looks like Caillou. Like he's worried. But it's just the facial proportions are different, right? I know that for like a lot of children, like when you're drawing children, the eyes tend to be bigger and sometimes like they don't have eyebrows at all, right? Like if you give a child thick eyebrows, they immediately look like an old man with a baby face. So, there are subtle things that you can do to, draw expressions without using wrinkles. Okay, so I got distracted there by answering all your questions. Mouths, we talked about mouths being open and mouths being closed, different shapes of mouths. So whenever you have like a mouth that's kind of asymmetrical, right? Like either teasing or disgust, like surprise is symmetrical. The rest of these are all pretty symmetrical. Um, yeah, the rest of these are pretty symmetrical, but asymmetrical mouths are, if you think about like shape language, it's kind of like a triangle, right? Which is like unpredictable, silly, joking, sarcastic. Otherwise, mouths are pretty much like happy, sad, neutral. But one thing I want to point out is if you are drawing a head that's in a different direction. So let's say you're drawing a head and the head is like tilting up. So our last workshop we did on on difficult head angles, right? So if a head's tilting up, whoops, and you can kind of see the bottom of the jaw, right? Then everything is going to tilt up. So the nose would tilt up, the eyes would tilt up, the nose would probably be a little bit higher, the eyes would tilt up. The mouth would also tilt this way. So even if a person is smiling, like even if they're smiling, their mouth is still going to tilt down, right? But you can make them look less frowny by moving the corners of the mouth up, right? Because a lot of times, like I'll see somebody draw a head like this, and it's like they're looking up. Obviously, they're looking up, and then they're like, oh, they're happy. And I'm like, no, 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 no. That makes it look really flat, right? Like suddenly you're just kind of this line looks like it's drawn on, okay? So remember that when faces are tilted, mouths will also tilt. Even if it's the opposite expression. So similarly, if you have a face that's tilting down and you want to draw somebody upset, right? You can't just like draw a whole face tilting down and then like draw like a like if every single curve is going in one direction but one curve goes in another direction, then it suddenly doesn't make any sense. So hopefully that was helpful. Okay, so I better get on to these expressions before we run out of time. All right, so let's draw angry Tyra here. We'll draw angry Tyra first. So I'm going to start by just kind of penciling in her head. Since this is a series on head drawing, we'll figure out like roughly the head angle. Her jaw is going to be slightly longer, right? I say slightly. It's as long as this distance. Okay, so if her mouth was closed, you add her jaw would, like if her mouth was closed, the bottom of her chin would be here, right? It's exactly this distance, the exact distance of her mouth being open. So you can take that distance and use that as a reference point. So I need to make her chin like extra long, and yeah, I'll probably exaggerate a little bit. I love it when supermodels make faces like this because you're like, yes, they're human. And our instructor Jessie, if you watch her expressions video, she's a really good artist, and she talks about, one thing she says is like, don't be afraid to make people ugly. Like, don't be afraid to really go and make your characters ugly, right? Ugly as in like the expression is ugly. Okay, Tyra is a supermodel, but even supermodels can have ugly faces, right? When they're angry. Like that's just the way it is. So don't like chicken out and make the expression a lot less exaggerated than you know, you can like it has the potential to be better. Okay. So I'm just erasing my lines so that I don't have too much going on. Okay, so usually speaking, like here she's looking down. You can tell she's looking down because her eyes and if I draw a line, if I draw a line, uh-oh, what happened? If I draw a line across her eye and then I move it to the top of her ear, you can see that this line is curved, right? It's going uh, down, which means her you're looking down at her, which means you're not going to see the bottom of her chin, right? You're going to see the top of her head. So then you want to follow all of those lines. You want to make sure that you map out where everything is, and then her mouth. You can kind of map out like the size of her mouth, right? And then once you kind of know where everything is, then you can start to exaggerate. So yeah, I would probably start with the eyebrows. And exaggerate them. And here, like angry eyebrows are usually pretty symmetrical. But there are, like, if somebody's angry, and they're like confused angry, right? Versus like rage. It's slightly different. Like confused angry, the eyebrows may be a little bit asymmetrical, whereas like rage, the eyebrows would be pretty symmetrical. So like all of there's some wrinkles in the nose. So I would definitely draw the wrinkles in the nose in this type of expression, just because it makes it feel more authentic. And then her eyes are pretty close to the eyebrows. And if you want to exaggerate, if you want to exaggerate angry eyes, you can actually draw the pupils smaller. You'll see this done a lot in anime. Right? So we can still give her eyelashes. We can still make her like pretty, pretty angry. And then there's a big gap between, like I exaggerated the gap between her eyeball and the iris, right? On her, it's actually closer, but I wanted to exaggerate it to make her feel even more mad. So in angry poses, yes, I would probably put in those lines. Like the other line that you would see is this line here. Like usually I wouldn't draw that line. Like usually if I drew a non-angry nose, it would probably be like this. Not even. It would probably be like that, right? But if it's like an angry nose, I would probably like do this, right? See how angry that suddenly looks? I'm going to leave it. I like that. Okay, and then the mouth. So mouths are so tricky to draw, especially in this angle, right? So my tip for you would probably be to find the corners first and then draw in the shape of the mouth. And she's got pretty thick lips, right? Mm, I don't know if I'm going to draw the top there. I mean, there's some thickness in her lips that I am not capturing right now. I have to make these like Tyra lips, you know? Her teeth. And it looks like she's kind of mid-speech, like she's saying something. She's telling somebody off. Um, and like angry mouths are sort of square instead of round. So I'm actually going to make this lip more square. I'll show you what I mean. So it's kind of like more square on the side, right? Jewel says, so you like to stay away from drawing nose bridges, nasolabial folds, and lower eyelids then? It depends. It depends on what you're trying to say. Like it really depends. I wouldn't say that for everything. I think, like, for example, for Tyra, like, if I wanted to draw this, right, I could, but then she just looks like an evil queen, right? Like, I guess I could make my brush a little smaller and, like, I could kind of add those in, um, you know, like, add in those details, but I don't really think it's actually contributing anything, you know? So it's the art of leaving things out that's really hard, right? Because we see everything. We're like, oh, I see all these details that I want to put in. Um, but if you have detail everywhere, then you really don't have detail anywhere, right? Details need to be very strategic. Um, I also realized that, like, for example, her cheekbones here, you know, if I wanted to emphasize she has these high cheekbones, I could probably put those in. Um, and then like, you know, she's got some very angry. My brush is huge, by the way, because I just wanted to like use a chunky brush um, to not get super lost in those details, right? But if you're angry, your jaw is more square, right? Like I wouldn't give her this like beautiful jaw. I would kind of give her like a more like look at her jaw. It's like wiggly. Like it's she's so mad that it's wiggly, right? Um I can see that my ear is in the wrong place now. But like, you know, if I was drawing an angry person, I would probably like give them like angry earrings, pointy earrings. You know, I wouldn't give her these like nice hoopy loopy earrings. I would probably give her these like dagger earrings, you know? Anyway, that's just like a personal preference. I think that your shapes and your shape language can support your expressions. I mean, you can even see the angry triangle in here. All right. So we are running a little bit long for this workshop, but I'm having fun, so I'm gonna try to finish these. Um, all right, let's do Leo. So Leo's like, "Ha! I told you so." I love this expression. It's so good. If you want to draw like really good expressions, just like find good memes, you know? Good memes will always give you good expressions. I'm having trouble drawing a circle right now. There we go. Okay. So with this expression, the tilt in the head is so important. I'm actually going to make it even more tilted. Like if you were to draw this expression without that head tilt, it just wouldn't be the same. Right? That head tilt and like the shoulder kind of tilting this way really adds to the expression of Leo here. Check out his eyebrows, like how far his eyebrows are from his eyes. Also, when I draw expressions, I will draw myself in the mirror. Like I'll make the expressions and I look at myself in the mirror. For this particular expression, I would draw the wrinkles on his forehead. I feel like without the wrinkles, it just wouldn't be the same. It just wouldn't be the same expression, you know? Um, so let's sketch out his eyebrows. Let's like make them really, really exaggerated. And he's got like really thick eyebrows. Also, like if you're drawing eyes or eyebrows, you want to draw them together. Like you never really want to draw like one eyebrow and then one eye and then not draw everything else, right? Okay, so there's his eyebrows. I'm just going to sketch out the corners of his nose just because it helps me with placing his eyes because I can see his eye sockets, right? I can see his eye socket under there. So I'm going to make his eyes kind of here. And so your eyes are the same distance wide as they are apart. So if you took like the distance of an eye and you put it in between, that would be the correct proportions. But in this case, his eyes look like they're actually shorter. I think it's like just the expression. And like looking at it now, I need to move the eyebrows up or the eyes down because it's just not exaggerated enough. Right? So you can always adjust as you go. You can make it like super exaggerated. Hey, lady. Wait. I'm gonna finish his face and then I'm gonna do that. He's like my teenage heartthrob, Leo. Okay, so his nose isn't really doing that much. It's pretty neutral. Not really doing a heck of a lot. Except it's being crooked right now. Move it over here. And then the mouth. The mouth is key in this expression, right? Like you can see that it's a little bit, the mouth is a little bit misaligned with the rest of the face. Bring this up so you can see, like, the center of his mouth is here and the center of his nose is here. I know it's super subtle. It's super, super subtle, but it makes a big difference, right? Like you just want to misalign it just a little bit, and then you can see like this part of his mouth is a little bit wider. So whenever you have like sarcasm or a an expression that's kind of silly, like borderline silly, that's when the mouth is asymmetrical, right? And the eyebrows. So if you want to exaggerate it, it's like so crooked on his face, but that's okay. I'm gonna adjust it. So if you look at this expression, you're probably like, you know what? I can tell what the expression is like, even without the wrinkles, right? Like, okay, so you tell me now, do you think that he needs wrinkles? How old do we want to make Leo here? How old do we want to how much do we want to age him? Do we want to make him a grandpa? Right? Like if we want Titanic 19-year-old, 20-year-old Leo, I don't actually know how old he was when he made that movie, but he was very young. Um he looked a lot younger than Kate Winslet actually in that movie. Um I was always like she looks a lot older than him. But if we want to keep him looking young, then we don't need to add any wrinkles, right? And Leo's got these like very bushy eyebrows, which got bushier as he got older. Um, Presidential age. I thought the dimple was important. Yeah, the dimple is important. Like this dimple, definitely important. So when you get like the basic proportions down, that's kind of when you can decide like what else do I want to add? Do I want to add like the bottom of his eyes? Do I want to add these lines? No, no, I don't want to add those lines. Do I want to add these lines? I don't know. I don't know. Do I want to add them? I mean, like, yeah, he has them, but like, let's see. Let's see if I just like totally ageify him. Yeah, I don't know. Does it need it? I don't think so. Can you put them in? Sure. That is up to you. So here's without, here's with. So one thing you could do is you could probably use values too. Like if you have a look at the wrinkles, can you tell that the wrinkles are red, right? It's due to subsurface scattering, which is basically, it means your skin is translucent and it will appear red when light is going through it or trapped in it. So drawing black lines don't really help, right? So what one thing that you could do is if I take these wrinkle lines and I put them on a new layer, and I reduce the opacity of them, right? Like that could work. That's a good compromise. Um, like there is a way to do it. Yeah, it's less in your face. You need to prioritize what you really want to showcase, right? So the priority is the eyebrows and the mouth. Um, I have to name these layers before I get lost. Yeah, there we go. Young, still young. He still looks young with these wrinkles. Okay, so we did Leo. Um, you can also see like I simplified his dimples a lot. I didn't really draw his double chin. I just didn't really think it was necessary to the expression. Okay, let's see. There's some questions coming in. How would you go about drawing the head from a higher or lower perspective? Oh, yes, that's a good one. Thank you, thank you, Rocio, for putting those in. I will get to those. I just want to finish the demo here. I really wanted to draw this cringe face. Okay, that's why I'm still here. I really want to draw this cringe face. Tell me you don't want to draw this cringe face with me. It's so good. So good. Like, I like all these people that I chose, but it's just fun drawing them in their like non-glamour shot type of appearance that we normally see. We always see them like dolled up and looking perfect, and when you see these expressions, you're just like, oh, it's so good. So good. Look at her mouth. Oh, so good. It's all in the mouth and the eyebrows for this expression. So just to kind of show you like how I would go about this mouth, because it's so complicated, right? First of all, it's a little bit asymmetrical. So if you want to draw in like the basic shape, like simplify into a very basic shape, right? It kind of looks like a coffin shape. Um, so like anime sometimes will also draw mouths like this, like very just simple. Okay, so next I will draw in her expression. So she's kind of like the cringe face is like the eyebrows are are showing pain. There's a little bit of pain. There's a little bit of disgust, right? There's a little bit of like uncertainty, a little bit of worry. Um, so just trying to kind of capture her eyes here. And I want to simplify them as well. Like, sure, I'll give her some eyelashes so that she's still kind of semi-pretty. Like as pretty as you can be when you have a cringe face, right? Also, you can see her eyes are a little asymmetrical. Like she's kind of got a bit of a fold here that's like not really on the other side of her face. Okay, so the eyes and the eyebrows say I'm in pain. The nose is disgust. It's like longer, just like slightly longer. When you're disgusted, your nose is either slightly shorter or slightly longer. And the mouth is going to be the best part. The mouth is like going to make everything better if I get it right. So you'll notice that like in both Ariana Grande and Tyra Banks, their lips are like really thick. I guess that's why they're famous. They've got these like really voluptuous lips that we have to pay surgeons, normal people have to pay surgeons to get, or like fillers and stuff. Okay. Okay, and then if you're drawing teeth or you're kind of struggling to draw teeth, like don't draw teeth like this. Just don't do it unless you're trying to be funny, um, or you're drawing a cartoon. The best way to draw teeth is to suggest teeth. Right? So you can see a little bit of it, a little bit of her mouth there, but not too much. Like sorry, a little bit of her teeth. And then this is where I would put in those wrinkles, just a little bit. Right? You kind of know when it's too much. You just start to know. And so when you are kind of like, I'm kind of losing the idea of it because I'm getting too lost in the details, that's when you can stop. And Ariana Grande is known for her really, really high, impossibly high ponytail. So I imagine it's like up there somewhere. I would also probably lift like the corner of her eye. So like instead of drawing her eye socket like or her eyelid like this, right? You can draw like you can draw an eyelid and suggest it, right? By drawing broken lines. So what I might do is I might like tilt this eye, and if I tilt that eye, she looks even more pained, right? So those are kind of things that you can do. They're much more subtle than actually drawing all those details. But yeah, there we go. There's the cringe. For some reason, she looks a lot more in my drawing. She looks like she's kind of in pain, and in the reference picture, she's just kind of like ew, like So if I wanted to not make her look as pained, I can just remove the tilt in her eyebrow, right? Like if I remove that tilt, then it just gets rid of the pain. Oops. There. Okay. And there's like random cartoon teeth next to her hair. Let me get rid of that. All right. So I'm going to answer some questions here. Let's see, scroll up to the top. So Eva asked, how would you go about drawing the head from a higher or lower perspective? That part to connecting the neck and head I find finicky. That is answered in the head drawing workshop where we go through heads at different angles, heads at difficult angles. I went through that in detail last workshop, so you can, we will post a recording. We definitely have that, and we also have a YouTube video that explains all of that. Unfortunately, I can't get into too much detail today because we've already gone way over time. Um, but check that out. If you Google wing canvas head angles, you will find a tutorial on that. Ore says, when drawing expressions, would adding too much details of the face throw it all off? Like, is simplicity good? Yes, yes, simplicity is good. I believe I already answered that. And also demonstrated with Leo why simplicity is good, right? Blue Jay Flu says, what are some tips to showing expressions when the face is the side profile? I believe I also answered that, but if you are going to show an expression, like if the expression is central to your idea or your story, don't do it from the side. It's just not as clear, right? It's kind of saying like think about it. If you were a director, okay, I'm just gonna draw as I talk. If you were a director and you were directing a film, okay, and the one of the characters in your film is, you know, has like a really uh important scene where he's going through like a lot of pain, or like frustration or anger, and like that's really, yeah, like the whole purpose of that scene is to show that, right? You're not going to have him, you're not going to show his back, obviously. You're probably not even going to show him from the side because it's not as clear. You're probably going to show him from the front or like 3/4 view, right? If he's interacting with somebody, um, you're probably going to have the camera on the person that's showing the most emotion, right? Like think about it. If you're a director, you're not going to, you know, intentionally move him away, right? So when you are drawing and if you're illustrating something or designing something, like think like an art director, right? Like you have to show, it's up to you to show the best representation or the best angle for your drawing. So, you know, yes, it's okay to um, you know, have a character on the side, but it's not ideal. Kate Calites asks, question, how do we know when to stop adding aging lines before it ruins the expressions we are going for? You kind of just add too much and then you're like, whoa, too old, and then you remove them, or you make them lighter, or you make them thinner. So I believe we also answered that question. Jules says, how big of a canvas do you feel is a comfortable size for drawing? Um, let me show you my canvas size. My canvas size is 10 by 25 inches at 300 dpi. So I wouldn't go anything less than 3000 pixels. Personally, it depends on whether or not you want to print it. Like if you're animating, you probably want to use less, like lower resolution. Just because like you don't want your file size to be really huge. If you're going to print it, you want to work in 300 pixels per inch resolution. It depends. Yeah, to 4K by 6K is a good size. 2K by 2K would be good if you're sharing on Instagram, or if it's just going to be like a digital piece. You might think that's huge. Yeah, like I'm a traditional artist. I don't actually work digitally that often. But when I do, I I always make it like bigger than I think I need. Um, so because I'm always like, I want the option to be able to print it. Right? That's just me though. Okay, so my sketch of Obama, he looks kind of tired and sleepy and not very happy. But in the picture, he looks very amused, right? So, how do you capture the amusement? How do you capture like the subtle difference? How do you capture amusement when the mouth clearly looks angry, right? Here's the thing. Let me just draw a white square for a second. Hold on, I have to do this on a new layer. Okay, just for fun, I'm gonna draw in a white square. Okay. So what's so great about this expression is that at the top, if you didn't see his mouth, you're like, hey, he looks happy. He looks relaxed, right? He looks like he's having a good day. um, and then if you look at the bottom, it's like he looks disgusted. He looks sad. Like it's an exaggerated sad, right? It's kind of like a posy sad. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not an authentic sad. It's kind of like a fake smile, right? It's kind of like faking sadness. It's too exaggerated. And so that's how you can tell. Like you can just like when we were drawing a girl, right? I'm like, okay, this is not an authentic expression. It's kind of a fake expression. So that's how you can kind of tell, right? It's kind of like a fake sad face with like a relaxed eyes. Right? They contradict each other, which is what makes this expression so silly. So, if you look at mine, it's not quite there yet, right? The eyes are looking a little bit sleepy. So let's fix that. And if you guys are drawing along with me, I'd love to see what you're doing. Please share. I'd love to see it. You can share afterwards on the server as well. So yeah, when you are drawing expressions, really give your eyebrows more time, right? We don't really like I don't think we really consider eyebrows or like really give them that much of a place in portraiture. Like when I draw people, I don't usually like spend hours on the eyebrows. Um I don't really think about it. I mean, do you? Do you guys normally do that? I don't. And so that's why like when I'm drawing expressions, that's when it really um becomes evident. Like it's really important. Also, I'm simplifying his eyes. Like his eyes are slits, right? And because I don't necessarily need to draw um I don't necessarily like need to draw the bottom lid. I can kind of just draw in his pupils and his iris as like a cube so that you can kind of feel that his eyes are not open all the way, right? Like what I mean is like I don't have to do this, right? your brain is like, yes, his eyes are kind of closed because I can't really see the top or the bottom of the iris. So again, simplifying, drawing what's only like absolutely necessary is always a better approach than trying to draw everything and all those details. Okay. Okay, so he's got relaxed eyes. Mine are not quite as relaxed, but we can always fix it later. Okay, so now I'm going to put in his nose. And then his mouth is really also the place where I want to put in the most emphasis. All right, so let's really exaggerate his mouth. This expression needs those lines. You know, those wrinkle lines that we're like debating whether or not we need them. In this expression, we need them. I think it's missing something without this expression. Um, we definitely are missing the lines here, right? Oh yeah, that makes a big difference. Look at that. So it's situational. Do you need them? Mm, it's debatable. Um, do we want to put in those lines? It's situational, right? It depends. So in this one, you're just like, oh, something's missing. Do I want to, put in those lines? And first of all, Obama's an older man, right? So it doesn't really hurt. You make him look more distinguished when you give him more wrinkles. Um, Another tip I have for when you're drawing somebody older is that you see how he's got like um, his shoulders are here, right? If I wanted to make him older, I would put his shoulders up here. And then he would look immediately older. Where's my drawing of the old man? Here. Here's my old man drawing. Back to him. Just going to digress for 1 second here. This little kid, shoulders are like this. The old man, his shoulders are like this. Which layer did I draw you on? There we go. Okay, so the shoulder line makes a big difference to somebody's age as well. So if you keep that in mind, your drawings will always be age appropriate. Whoa, I made Obama so huge. Like I drew everybody else kind of small, and then he's really, really big. So thanks for those of you who are still with me. I'm having so much fun that I am just, I'm still here. Obama is also like known for his big ears, so I'm gonna make them even bigger just to make this drawing even sillier. If it's one thing, I'm Canadian, but if there's one thing I like about America and Americans is that we can make like they can make fun of their presidents, like you know, and their celebrities, and they have a pretty good sense of humor about it. So Obama hopefully would find this funny. There we go. This is making me laugh. Uh, all right. I think the last thing I'm gonna do is just shift his mouth up just a little bit. Yeah, that's the last thing I'm gonna do. Yeah, so let me know if you guys have any other questions or comments. I hope you had fun drawing with me today. Uh, I had a lot of fun. And if you know really enjoy these workshops, we are excited to continue them. You can check out our website at wingcanvas.com. We are an online art school. We specialize in illustration as well as animation. And so if you check out our site, you'll see all of our programs. You can also visit our YouTube channel. We have a Patreon if you want to get your artwork critiqued by our creators. You can join the Patreon and also join our Discord. Rocio from XP Pen has very kindly posted all the links where you can find us. So I hope to see you around, and I hope you guys had a good time and that you made some really fun drawings with me. I realized I forgot to give Tyra Banks hair. She's like so angry all her hair has fallen off. um anyway, yeah, I would love to see what you guys have drawn. So thanks again for joining, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.